On New Year's Eve, I was working a double shift in the air. My brother told my 16-year-old son there was no space for him at the party. He had to drive home alone and spend the night in an empty apartment. I didn't make a scene. I took action. The next morning, my brother found a letter on the porch and started screaming. The ER smelled like bleach and despair. 16 hours straight. No breaks. No hot coffee. I peeled off my gloves, my fingertips pruned and sticky with sweat, and tossed them in the trash. The clock in the staff room read 11:52 p.m. New Year's Eve. Another one spent under fluorescent lights in the sound of someone else's pain. All I wanted was to get home, kick off my boots, and sit in silence. My name is Eric. I'm 47, a widower, and a trauma nurse in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Every New Year's Eve used to be a family affair until my wife passed 4 years ago. Since then, it's just been me and my son, Jaden. Jaden had made plans this year. Earlier that morning, he was all smiles, buttoning up a light blue dress shirt he picked out himself. Uncle Tom said it's fancy this year, he told me, smoothing his collar in the mirror. He's doing a sit-down dinner and everything. I remember messing up his hair and saying, just don't bring home food poisoning. He laughed. I'll be home late. But when I stepped into the house just after midnight, something was off. Jaden's sneakers and duffel bag were by the door. I froze. He wasn't supposed to be here. My first thought was, maybe he forgot something? Maybe he came home to change? But then I saw him, curled up on the living room couch, still wearing that same dress shirt, crumpled and slightly damp with sweat. His dress shoes were off, tucked under the coffee table. The TV was on low, a countdown show nobody was watching. Jaden? I said quietly, stepping closer. He didn't look up right away. Just shifted under the throw blanket and mumbled, Hey, what happened? I thought you were staying at Tom's tonight. He hesitated. His voice was barely audible when he finally said, Uncle Tom said there wasn't enough space for me. I blinked. What? He opened the door and kind of stared at me, Jaden said, still not looking at me. Said they didn't plan for an extra plate. That all the guest rooms were already taken. I sat down on the edge of the coffee table, facing him. You're not an extra, I said. I know, he whispered. But I left before it got awkward. Just figured I'd come home. He looked up at me then, and something about the way his face was clenched, half ashamed, half numb, made my throat burn. I reached over and squeezed his knee. You should have called me. You were working. We sat there in silence, the muffled sound of fireworks in the distance, like soft punches against the night sky. My hands were still trembling from adrenaline and exhaustion. But I looked at my son and realized he wasn't supposed to spend tonight like this. Not curled up on a couch alone, not left out of a family party like he was some burden to accommodate. I took a deep breath. Want some waffles? I asked. Jaden blinked. No. Yeah, I said, getting up. Let's start the new year right. Jaden was quiet as he chewed his waffle, each bite slow like he was dragging it out. The syrup pooled on his plate, untouched. I sat across from him with my coffee, letting him have the space he needed. He didn't owe me anything, but I could tell he was holding it in. After a few minutes, he finally spoke. When I got there, I was on time. Actually, like 10 minutes early, he said, eyes fixed on the table. Aunt Beth opened the door, and she looked surprised. She was holding a champagne glass and had that weird fake smile she does, like she didn't know what to do with me. He rubbed his thumb along the side of his plate. Then Uncle Tom came to the door. He looked behind me, like he expected someone else. Then he goes, Oh, you made it. I didn't think you'd actually come. My chest tightened. He said that. Jaden nodded. Yeah. Then he kind of leaned out the door and looked at the driveway. Asked if you came too. I told him you were at work. And what did he say? Jaden's laugh was short and sharp. Said, Well, shoot. Wish I'd known. We're kind of maxed out on chairs tonight. I didn't say anything. Just stared at the table, willing myself to stay calm. I offered to leave right then, Jaden said, his voice dropping. He didn't stop me. Just kind of shrugged and said, It's up to you. But we're packed tonight. Didn't really plan on extras. Extras, I repeated, like the word tasted bad. He pushed his plate away slowly. I stayed anyway. Thought maybe if I just stood around, I'd find a spot eventually. But no one really talked to me. I didn't interrupt. He needed to get it out. Everyone was busy. Talking about business stuff or kids in college or whatever, he said. I tried to say hi to Aunt Beth again, but she just waved me off. I stood near the kitchen for a while, but they kept brushing past me like I was in the way. His eyes were glossy now, but he didn't cry. I brought that cinnamon bread. The one I made yesterday? Yeah. You woke up early for it. I put it on the food table next to the other stuff, he said. No one touched it. Not even a slice gone. I clenched my jaw. Did you eat anything? He shook his head. There wasn't any left by the time I thought to grab a plate. I didn't want to ask. It felt like if I said something, they'd look at me like I was the problem. Jaden. I had a granola bar in my bag. In tap water, he said, almost smiling like it was a joke. Happy New Year, right? I stood up, pacing the kitchen, trying not to let my hands shake. You should have called me. I would have come and got you. I know, he said, but I didn't want to make it worse. I stopped. Worse for who? Jaden shrugged. For you. And that broke me. He had gone to a party full of relatives, carrying fresh-baked bread like some peace offering, and they treated him like a mistake. Like someone who showed up with a handout, instead of a kid who just wanted to belong. You're not a problem, Jaden, I said, my voice tight. They are. After Jaden went to bed, I sat in the living room with the TV off and the lights dimmed, just staring at the darkened screen like it might give me answers. The house was still, quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the occasional crackle of the baseboard heater kicking on. I should have been asleep. God knows I needed it after that shift, but my mind wouldn't settle. Instead, I just sat there, turning it over and over, the way Jaden's voice had gone flat when he talked about that cinnamon bread, the way he said, worse for you, like this was all just normal. Like he'd already learned how to shrink himself to avoid causing trouble. And I couldn't stop thinking about how familiar that felt. I've been doing the same thing my whole life. Growing up, Tom was the one everyone wanted to be around. Charming, loud in a way that made people laugh instead of wince, always with a story or a joke or a new best friend. My mom used to call him our little politician with a sparkle in her eye. Even when he broke curfew or wrecked the car in high school, they found a way to turn it into a lovable anecdote. I was different. Quiet. Bookish. Obsessed with biology and anatomy, always reading something too advanced or a little weird. I remember once at a family gathering, when I was around 14, my uncle asked me what I wanted to be. I said, a trauma surgeon. He blinked and said, why not something normal, like a dentist? That got a big laugh. Tom went to trade school and started flipping houses with a buddy right after graduation. My parents bragged about his entrepreneurial spirit. I went to med school, drowned in debt, worked back-to-back shifts for years, and when I came home with my white coat and tired eyes, they said I was showing off. You just think you're better than everyone, my mom once muttered under her breath after a Thanksgiving dinner where I offered to pay for the whole meal. Better? I have been trying to earn their approval since I was 12. Even after all that, I helped them. Paid their electric bills when dad got laid off. Sent checks when mom had her gallbladder surgery and their insurance wouldn't cover it. A few years ago, when they were about to lose their place, I bought them a modest condo outright. No mortgage. No strings. They called it a gesture. Tom called it overcompensating. That was his favorite word for me, like everything I did had some hidden motive. When I won an award at the hospital, he joked that I probably nominated myself. When I sent Jaden to science camp, he said I was trying to buy the kids love. And still, I kept inviting them over. Kept including them in holidays. Kept trying. Because I wanted Jaden to feel like he had a real family. Like he belonged somewhere besides just with me. But last night, watching him fold into himself like that, hearing him describe standing alone with a granola bar while a house full of people laughed and toasted champagne, that cracked something open. It wasn't just a bad party. It was a pattern. And I had ignored it for too long. I looked toward the stairs where Jaden was sleeping, probably still wearing that wrinkled dress shirt, and I made myself a quiet promise. They didn't get to do this to him too. Not anymore. It had started a few months earlier, October, maybe on a Sunday afternoon while I was restocking the emergency kit in the garage. Melissa, Tom's wife, called me. I remember wiping grease from my fingers as I answered. She was overly cheerful, the way people are when they want something. Hey, Eric. Hope things are good. Listen, we were hoping you could help us out. Just a little thing. Tom's daughter, Haley, had made it to the finals of some international robotics competition. Big deal, apparently. The team was going to Tokyo. Costs weren't covered. They were asking family for help. We need about $6,000 more to make it happen, Melissa said. I know it's a lot, but we thought maybe you'd want to contribute. You've always been so supportive. I took a breath. Not because I didn't have the money, I did, but because I was tired. I had just covered our parents' new health insurance plan. They couldn't keep up with the premiums anymore, and Tom hadn't offered a dime. I'd also picked up the property tax for their condo without telling them. Again. I can't, I said. Calm. Final. Melissa paused. Oh, she said. Are things tight? No, I said. I'm just already doing a lot. I can't add something else right now. Another pause. Then she got quiet and polite, ended the call fast. I figured it would blow over. It didn't. Tom texted me later that night. I still remember the words. Guess we know who the favorite is. Must be nice to pick and choose when to be generous. I didn't reply. That was the moment something shifted. Not just between me and Tom, but in the way everyone looked at me. Thanksgiving that year was stiff. No jokes. No warmth. My mom asked if I was doing okay mentally, which felt less like concern and more like accusation. Jaden didn't notice. Or if he did, he didn't say anything. He spent most of the meal helping Grandma set the table, being his usual self, easygoing, thoughtful. He didn't know he'd just been reclassified, too. Because in our family, being inconvenient is the same as being disposable. Looking back, that moment on the phone, that was the first real no I had given them in years. And they never forgot it. I kept thinking maybe they'd move past it. Maybe it was just pride. But now, after what happened on New Year's, I realized the truth. They'd marked me and Jaden both. For not giving. For not being easy. And they'd left my son standing on a porch in the cold like that was nothing. I couldn't sleep after that night. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw Jaden standing on that porch again, alone, holding his cinnamon bread like some kind of offering no one wanted. The image stuck with me like a splinter under the skin. Deep. Sore. So I got up before the sun, brewed a pot of coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open and the silence thick around me. Jaden was still asleep upstairs, his door barely cracked. I could hear him shifting now and then, like he was trying to get comfortable but couldn't. I opened a blank document and started typing. It wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. I kept it short, precise. Just like the discharge papers I write at the hospital. Subject, termination of financial support. I detailed it all, 60 days to vacate the condo. No more utility payments. No more supplemental health coverage. Effective immediately. I included the legal clause I knew would make them squirm, the part about gift funds versus obligations. I signed it at the bottom. Full name. Date. Simple. Then I printed 2 copies. Put them in a white envelope and wrote, for Tom and parents on the front. I sat there for a few minutes, just holding it, tapping the edge of it against the table. My stomach was tight, but it wasn't fear. It was resolve. It felt like the first deep breath after years of holding my lungs half full. By 7:15 a.m., I was in the car. The streets were empty, still half asleep in the cold gray morning of January 1st. Most people were probably sleeping off champagne headaches or curled in blankets watching the parade. I pulled up in front of the condo I paid for, the one they told everyone they managed to keep after the market crashed. I parked, walked up to the door. The welcome mat was still crooked, like always. I slipped the envelope beneath it and turned to go. That should have been it. Quiet. Done. But just as I reached the bottom step, the door yanked open behind me. My mother's voice cut through the air like a whip. Eric? What is this? She was in her robe, hair wild, holding the letter like it was toxic. You're abandoning us? She shouted, loud enough for the whole block. After everything we've done? I turned around slowly. Everything you've done? I said, barely raising my voice. You left my son standing on your porch. That was a misunderstanding, she snapped. He showed up without notice. He was invited, I said. He brought food. Tom appeared behind her, shirtless, rubbing his eyes. What the hell is going on? I looked at him. 60 days. You'll need to find another place. You can't be serious, he said. I am, I said. This is what consequences look like. Then I got in my car and drove off. I didn't wait to hear the rest. I didn't need to. Their shouting faded in the rearview. But for once, it didn't follow me home. They didn't even wait until noon. My phone started buzzing before I finished my second cup of coffee. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts flooding in like a dam had finally broken. Mom, we need to talk. You're being rash. Tom, this is insane. You're seriously doing this because we forgot a plate. Aunt Carol, heard you're having a rough patch. Don't do anything you'll regret. Cousin Nate, what's this I'm hearing about kicking your own parents out? Not one message about Jaden. Not a single one. Not even a how's Jaden, or tell him we're sorry. It was all about them. Their shock. Their confusion. Their discomfort. Like I had pulled the rug out for no reason, like the years I carried them didn't matter. Around lunch, Tom sent a voice note. I didn't even want to press play, but I did. You're spiraling, man. I don't know what's going on with you, but this isn't healthy. You sound unstable. You need to get help, seriously. You think you're punishing us, but you're just proving how selfish you really are. I set my phone down. Took a long breath. The kind you take when you feel the wave rising and you're just trying to brace yourself. That evening, my mom texted. We forgive you. Come talk. Forgive me. The words made me laugh out loud. They sounded so generous, so full of grace. Like she was offering me absolution for setting boundaries. For no longer being their unpaid insurance plan. 3 days later, she showed up on my porch. Jaden was still at his friend Mason's house for winter break. I'd encouraged him to get out of the house, clear his head. So when the doorbell rang and I saw her standing there, coat open over a house dress, the crumpled letter clutched in one hand, I opened the door without a word. You really think this is how family treats each other? She asked, stepping onto the mat but not inside. I didn't move. Depends on the family. She held up the letter like it was Exhibit A. This is cold. This isn't you. You're letting your bitterness fester. You let my son stand on a porch in the cold, I said. No food, no kindness, not even an apology. And you're here to tell me I'm bitter. She blinked, hesitated. Then came the offer. Look, she said, softening her voice. If this is about Haley's trip, Fine. We can work something out. Pay for that and let's move past all this. Stop the drama. I almost smiled. They still didn't get it. To them, I wasn't a person. I was a slot machine that had stopped paying out. They weren't sorry. They were inconvenienced. I stepped back, just enough to close the door. I'm not interested in deals, I said quietly. And I shut the door before she could reply. I booked a meeting with a lawyer the next morning. A colleague at the hospital had given me her name months ago, someone who specialized in estate planning and family asset disputes. Back then, I tucked the card into my wallet and forgot about it. But now I was ready. The meeting was clinical, efficient, the kind of conversation where every sentence had weight. I want to transfer ownership of the condo, I told her, and revoke access to the utility accounts. She clicked her pen and nodded. Are you prepared for blowback? I've been living in blowback for years, I said. We drafted the paperwork that afternoon. By the end of the week, I had pulled my name off the electric, water, and cable services for the condo. I also canceled the medical insurance I had set up for my parents years ago through my employer's family plan. I had never told them I was footing the bill. They just assumed it came from the state or some invisible blessing. Let them see the actual cost now. I listed the condo for sale the same day. It took less than 48 hours to get a cash offer. That's when the calls started coming from the rest of the family. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Second aunts. People who never reached out except to send generic Christmas cards signed with scribbled names and no personal note. Just wanted to understand what's going on, one cousin said. Your mom says you're acting out, said another. We heard you're selling their home. Is that true? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I sent them screenshots, bank transfers, utility receipts, emails, medical invoices, insurance breakdowns. I sent it all. I didn't justify, I showed. The truth had weight, and I was done carrying it alone. One of my cousins, Peter, he works in IT in Milwaukee, wrote back with just 5 words. I had no idea. Respect. That was all. But it hit harder than anything else I'd received in years. Not because it vindicated me, but because it was the first response that wasn't about what I owed them. It was about what I'd endured. I printed out a few of those responses. Not to gloat, but as a reminder. A tether. Because part of me still felt the urge to explain, to make them see, to crack myself open wide enough for them to finally say, we get it. But I knew better now. Understanding was never the goal for them. Control was. And I had taken it back. Inch by inch, paper by paper, boundary by boundary. It didn't take long for the golden boy to break. Tom moved our parents into his place about a week after I cut everything off. His wife, Melissa, posted about it on Facebook with a smiling photo of them, helping my mom up the front steps. The caption read, family first, always. I nearly choked on my coffee when I saw it. At first, it was quiet. No calls, no messages. I figured they were riding high on their moral high ground, playing house with their new responsibilities. But by the 3rd week, the cracks started showing. It began with texts from Melissa. Hey Eric, just wondering, do your parents have any kind of meal plan or delivery service they used to use? I ignored it. A few days later, your dad doesn't like our mattress. Do you know what kind he used to have? He says his back is killing him. Then, hey, weird question, did you use to manage their prescriptions? There's a mix-up with the pharmacy, and I'm not sure who to call. They were flailing. Badly. And then, one rainy Thursday evening, Tom showed up at my front door. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair a mess. Melissa's SUV was idling at the curb. I could see the silhouette of my mother in the passenger seat, arms crossed. I just need to talk, he said, holding his hands up like I might slam the door. I stepped onto the porch, but didn't invite him in. He took a breath. I need your help. I've been looking for rentals. Something for them. Maybe a senior community. Something affordable. I raised my eyebrows. Affordable. They're driving us crazy, man. Nothing's ever good enough. Dad complains about the food. Mom nitpicks everything. Melissa's about to lose it. I crossed my arms. Sounds like family. I get it, okay, he said, exasperated. I get that we screwed up, but I can't keep doing this. They need their own space. And you? He hesitated. You always knew how to deal with them. I tilted my head. You mean pay for them? He didn't answer. I leaned against the porch railing, keeping my voice level. Jaden stood on your porch 3 weeks ago. You looked him in the eye and told him there wasn't room. You didn't make space for a 16-year-old kid on New Year's Eve. And now you want me to help. Tom swallowed hard. That wasn't personal. It never is, right? I said, until the consequences show up. He didn't respond. Just looked down at his shoes. I gave him a long look. You wanted to be the good son. The hero. Now be it. Then I turned and went back inside. I didn't slam the door. I didn't have to. They ended up in a rental about 15 minutes from Tom's place. A weather-worn single-story unit with yellow siding and a sagging porch. I didn't see it in person. I didn't have to. Melissa posted a photo on social media with a caption that read, "Not ideal, but grateful for new beginnings." New beginnings. It was almost funny, the way they spun the story. They told the extended family they had chosen to downsize, that the condo was too much to manage, that they were excited to be closer to the community center. Like they were retirees on a self-improvement journey, not two grown adults who had been evicted after leeching off their eldest son for over a decade. But the cracks kept showing. They called a few of my cousins in other states, fishing for sympathy. I heard about it secondhand. They said you blindsided them. One cousin told me. Said you never explained why. I sent him a folder of receipts, copies of old bank transfers, the eviction notice with dates. He didn't reply right away. But a few days later, he texted, "We get it now? They were lucky to have you." The silence from my parents wasn't real silence. It was the kind that waits for the right moment to strike. A trap set impatience. But I didn't check their messages anymore. I deleted every text without reading it. Blocked unknown numbers. I stopped giving them space in my mind. Meanwhile, Jaden changed. He came back from winter break lighter. Not in body, but in spirit. Like he'd been holding something in for years and finally let it go. He smiled more. Laughed freely. Started inviting friends over without asking if it was okay first. One night in March, I came home to find him and Mason studying on the floor, books open, music low. They looked up when I walked in. "Hey Dad," Jaden said. "We're ordering pizza. Want it?" I hadn't heard that tone in a long time. Easy. Confident. Like he finally felt at home in his own life. College acceptance letters came a few months later. He chose a state school with a great pre-med program. Said he wanted to try hospital volunteer work. I didn't ask if it was because of me. I just told him I was proud. Our house was quiet, sure, but it was ours. No drama, no guilt, no one calling in favors masked as love. The people who once acted like we didn't exist were now living in a rental with no help and no audience. And we were finally free to become something better. 2 years later, we threw our own New Year's Eve party. Nothing fancy. No dress codes. No seating charts. No talk of fitting the vibe. Just people we actually liked. Jaden invited a couple of friends from college, and I had a few coworkers over. Nurses who'd pulled shifts with me during the worst nights of the pandemic. The kind of people who knew what it meant to show up when it mattered. The living room was full of mismatched folding chairs and hand-me-down throw pillows. There was chili bubbling in a slow cooker and board games stacked by the coffee table. Someone brought cider. Someone else brought cupcakes. Every person who walked through the door took off their shoes and smiled like they already belonged. Jaden stood by the kitchen counter, helping pour drinks. He looked so different now. Taller, more relaxed in his own skin. He wore a hoodie and jeans, hair a little too long, laugh a little too loud. And I couldn't stop watching him. At midnight, we all raised our glasses and toasted. Someone blew a party horn too close to my ear, and I pretended to be annoyed. But inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. No tension. No pretending. No waiting for a snide comment or a sudden shift in mood. Just warmth. Real warmth. Later, as people were putting on coats and hugging goodbye, Jaden came up beside me, phone in hand. "I got an email from Grandma," he said. I looked at him. "Yeah." He opened the screen and showed me a single-line message. "Hope you're doing well. Would love to talk." Jaden raised an eyebrow. "Should I answer?" I shrugged. "Only if you want to." He looked at the screen again, then locked it and slipped the phone into his pocket. "None," he said. "I'm good." We sat on the couch after everyone left, the remnants of the party still scattered around us, half-eaten chips, empty cider bottles, a pair of fuzzy socks someone forgot. The house was quiet again. Jaden leaned back, arms behind his head. "Feels good, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah, it really does." He looked over at me. "You think they'll ever change?" I exhaled, smiled just a little. "Maybe. Doesn't matter." He nodded once. "Guess not." Then he grinned. "Next year, we're doing breakfast for dinner. Waffles and scrambled eggs." "Deal," I said. "But you're cooking." "Fine," he laughed. "But only if you make the cinnamon bread." And that's how we started our new tradition. No ghosts. No guilt. Just us. Home.